masses. Go get yourself some cheap sunglasses. Oh yeah! Oh yeah!
All right, Jeffrey, you got your cheap sunglasses going?
I got my glasses going.
All right, so I had to throw a little ode to ZZ Top since they had a little change in the band, I guess. But here we are. We're in the Northwest Georgia Industry Update, my friend. So, Jeffrey, you're our guy in Cartersville, but we're going to talk about Cartersville, Bartow, and Gordon counties. Perfect. And really just kind of do our best to talk about what's going on in the industry up there, right? And you know, I'd say let's start with a 30,000-foot view. What do you see going on up there?
Yeah, you know, stretching all across North Georgia, there's the market feels like it is shifting, or has shifted, in that the frenzy feels like it's dying down a little bit. But it's still going, Brett. People are still struggling to get offers accepted, buyers agents, and listings are moving pretty quick.
Right.
You know, days on market is hanging around 5. We've been right around that point for a little bit now.
Okay.
And that's staying pretty consistent, and like it is across the rest of the metro area. Prices are up. So it's encouraging if you're moving houses.
So here's the $1 million question, like cocktail party, social gathering. Jeffrey, how's the real estate market? What's the talking points, right?
Yeah.
How would you answer that question?
Yeah, I mean, my first question would be like, well, which side of the equation are you on? Are you buying or are you selling? Do you have something to sell? And do you have a place to go? That's usually my next question. But that's what we're leading. It's, hey, if you can sell and you're able to sell and you have a place to land, let's go. We can get this house listed by Thursday and get people walking through the front doors. Like, let's take advantage of it. I think that's the big thing, Brett, is we're able to use a lot of the KW models in coaching and teaching, because we're actually really able to capitalize on the wealth building for our clients right now. Hey, we're able to bring wealth to you if you may not have
on both sides of the equation, right?
Both sides. I mean, obviously with the selling side, but buying side as well. It's the first thought of like, I'm not going to buy it. It's too expensive right now. But in actuality, it may be the perfect time to buy.
Yeah.
The absolute best time.
I agree. And I think we're going to show some stats here in a minute, but there's a lot of money moving to Northwest Georgia. There's a lot of people frustrated in the metro area that are moving north. There's a lot of money moving from other parts of the country. We're going to show an article here in a minute, but at the end of the day, we're in what I would call as an acute seller's market, which is home run grand slam for seller side of the business. But there's so many factors showing up on the buy side of the business, like interest rates, creative ways to do bridge loans and buy before you sell without having to hold the equity or the debt ratio of both properties, to iBuyer scenario is an interesting topic. We'll dive into that. But let's start with the numbers, right? Like we always start with the numbers. Let me pull them up here on the screen. Here is the graph that we show on our normal Metro Atlanta industry update. It just shows FMLS in Metro Atlanta. We track all the stats, and you can see the gap here between closed listings coming off the market and new listings coming on. Not really getting a lot of breath of fresh air as far as inventory right now, but that we've been living with that, right? Just like the pandemic, we've learned to live with it, but yet we've learned to succeed with it too, right?
Right. What is the red active under contract staying pretty consistent through the year, but the listings and closed have been fluctuating quite a bit.
Yeah, for sure. So let's dive in. So Bartow County, here, let me make it a little smaller so we can see it. Last 7 days, you can see there were 62 new listings that came on the market. 39 went pending, 25 went under contract, right? And 38 came off the market from a closed perspective. So really, it's not the same story that Metro Atlanta has. You have more new listings coming on the market than coming off the market. So we should be having a little bit better inventory scenario, at least in Bartow County, than we do in Metro Atlanta. And you see the difference is the blue line, which is the new signs going out, is above the yellow and the red lines, which means inventory is starting to build a little bit, which is, I think, a breath of fresh air for a lot of real estate professionals right now, right?
Yeah, it is. I mean, we talk about it, the agent fatigue. We've talked about buyer fatigue, but agent fatigue is setting in. So just the fact that we can take a little bit of a breath, you know, and the craziness. Also, market-wise, we're right in the middle of back to school. And it is, you know, Bartow County went back Wednesday. City schools start on Monday of next week. So I do think natural seasons have shifted.
Our natural bell curves, right?
Yep.
Natural bell curve. I mean, I just like to point out, if you look at Metro Atlanta, look how much gap between the yellow and the blue line, which says it's shrinking inventory. Then you look in contrast in Bartow County, and the gap is reversed. We're building inventory in Bartow County. And I think that that's a totally different tale. It just goes to show that being hyper local and understanding your hyper local market is really important, because if I'm watching the news channel coming out of Atlanta, it's probably telling a different story than what's really going on in Cartersville, Bartow, et cetera, right?
Yeah, it is. It does.
Yep.
Yeah, and you know, the other interesting thing we were talking about, Brett, is those numbers with the rate and the way new construction is moving. That this is pretty much all resale. That new construction isn't playing into these numbers we're seeing right now, because they're not putting it in FMLS. They're flying off.
Yeah, they're just selling it. Yeah. So let's jump over to Floyd County and Rome area. 52 new listings came on the market. 35 went pending and 28 went closed. Same thing. If you look at our graph here, look at the gap between these lines. The inventory is really starting to build back up, which doesn't say it's necessarily a buyer's market. It's still probably a seller's market. Yet inventory is starting to be a little more robust there.
Yeah, I feel like sellers are saying, or buyers are saying, like, whoa, buddy. Let's wait a minute. Let's just slow your roll for a second. You know, I feel like that's what the market's doing. It's like, no, you know, that's not how this is going to work.
Exactly. And, you know, a skills-based real estate agent is really able to take this data and advise their clients appropriately, right?
Yep.
And what skills-based means is you're able to consult your clients around where the market's going instead of where the market's been. And where the market's going shows, I mean, you can look back on this chart in Floyd County, look how close these lines were. There's a little breath of fresh air here, but then we crossed again, and now it's starting to build again. So good news in both Bartow and Floyd. Let's jump over to Gordon. 23 new listings hit the market, 11 pending, 11 closed. Not as high a volume, obviously, but you can see, look at this sharp decline in number of houses coming off the market. So maybe just knowing that is an important thing when you're consulting buyers around motivation or helping sellers price, whether it may not be the right time to be overly aggressive.
Yeah, and also the further north you go, the more off-market listings you're having, the more creative our agents are having to become as well, of finding off-market property that, again, doesn't account for these numbers. So
exactly.
So that's just to keep in mind if you're going to be a skills-based agent and you're going on presentations and consultations of knowing your local market well and knowing that it's beyond just numbers in FMLS.
There you go.
What are you seeing? What are you feeling?
Yeah. So those are the numbers, right? The numbers in Northwest Georgia tell us big picture, 30,000 foot view, inventory starting to build up. The real estate market of 3 months ago is not the same as the real estate market we're looking forward in the next 3 months.
No, it's not.
And that speaks to the shift you were talking about, right?
Yes. Yep. Absolutely. I mean, we've seen the shift. The average sales price is up, 17% right now in Bartow County, 26 in Floyd.
Yep.
But along with that, it's that we're feeling that shift. I think some of that increase is from that frenzy that we felt a few months back. But I don't see prices going down. Like prices aren't, they're not decreasing. So it'd be interesting to watch in the next few months where prices hang, how long they sit on the market.
Yeah.
I mean, what buyers are actually willing to pay right now.
Exactly. And I think the listing agent of tomorrow is going to have different conversations being put before them than they've had in a while.
Absolutely. One of those, we mentioned it earlier, Brett, that iBuyer, the instant offers, or we'll make you a cash offer, or the open doors of the world. Hey, you don't need to do anything. Before, as a listing agent, my script was, well, I can obviously bring you more money to your pocket. Wouldn't you like to have more money than they're going to offer you? I can do that as a real estate professional. Right now, they're offering over market, over list price, these companies, these investors, and they're not coming down. We had an agent yesterday. One of these large companies offered 10 grand over, got to the very end of due diligence, and didn't request a price reduction for any repairs or any amendment to address concern items.
Wow.
And I mean, it's a huge win for her seller.
Yep.
But they would have done that without the agent. And so that's what we're seeing happening is got to be on your game. Our scripts have to change. Well,
I think you speak to the game, right? Here's where I see iBuyers and what we need to be paying attention to, and what the game is, if you will, is you're actually seeing the iBuyer companies, the Open Door, the Zillow, the OfferPad, and so forth, actually starting to grow in market share right now.
Yeah.
And what that tells me as a broker, as a real estate professional, is the consumer saying, hey, I'm interested in convenience. I'm interested in those kinds of things. However, here's what I really think the message behind it is. They're getting to our customers faster than we are.
They are.
They're pumping marketing dollars in. They're pumping direct mail. They're pumping messaging out there to the consumer. And what happens when they do that is the consumer raises their hand and says, hey, I'm interested in selling my house conveniently. And they're getting to that consumer in our databases before we are. Mm-hmm. And so I really think the coaching around this, Jeffrey, is how do we put the foot on the gas on marketing? And maybe I would challenge people to change their messaging to say, hey, I can bring that option to the table too.
So right.
So the listing agent of yesterday, I hate calling it a one-trick pony, but they come into the listing, they sit at the kitchen table of the seller and say, my option is to list your house for 6% and do my marketing plan, and I'm going to bring the highest dollar return to the table. And I still believe that's a true statement. Yet the listing agent of tomorrow might be changing their messaging to say, hey, I'm going to sit at your table and show you all your options. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to partner with Keller Offers, and I can get you a cash price. I'm going to bring Homeward or Keller, another part of the Keller product. We don't even have to go into all the details, but we can go buy your next house and help you purchase that house for cash so that we can sell your house second. and it's a product our agents are equipped with to really give an option to a seller, right?
Well, yeah, and as you're saying this, I'm having an internal gut punch moment of KW's been pushing this out to us for a while now. You know, Keller Mortgage is not new. Keller Offers is not brand new, but yet we're feeling the need for it even more right now. If we had implemented and really dove in before this happened, you know, before this new trend, a lot of us could have stayed ahead of the game even more. But it goes back to the marketing. It goes back to doubling down on your marketing, your personal self. What value do I bring to the equation?
Well, it's a little bit of that wake up call, like, wake up, people. We need to pay attention to these things, understand them, and not just understand them of what they are, but understand how they're actually tools to help us in our business. And I just think it's one thing to understand the products, but it's a whole nother level. It's the MBA version of business to understand how to use them as a lead generation tool, how to use them in your messaging, how to tell that story, right?
Yep. Wow, that's take that a little bit further for our agents. You know, what when telling the story, are we telling the story of our value? Are we telling the story of us as an agent? I mean, what's the story we should be telling?
Yeah. Well, the story is you have tools that are options to people considering selling real estate today. And I think some agents are a little scared of iBuyers. They're maybe scared of these bridge loan products. One, because they feel maybe a little threatened by it, or they just don't understand it.
Yeah.
Much less embrace it for an option at the listing table for the future.
Yeah. I mean, our agents are shocked when they get an offer from Open Door. You know, they're used to Open Door being their competition and getting into the transaction at the listing.
Yes.
Not actually coming in and buying it now. So it's almost like they're really trying to rewrite and tell our story for us. Of everything they can do in our industry.
And here's the other thing I'd say, because this is the Northwest Georgia industry update we're doing.
Yep.
You're not immune to it. This isn't a Metro Atlanta product, and it's not up here in the urban or the rural areas. It's up here, and it's starting to make its way to where you really should, as a professional, pay attention.
Well, and Brett, a lot of these iBuyer companies are West Coast side. Yeah. And, you know, the articles we were talking about earlier are talking about, you know, the amount of West Coast buyers.
Well, let me just pull that up. Let me pull that article up. So this article was on Northwest Georgia News, right?
Yep.
And it tell me what's this article's about.
So it's talking. It was from July of last month. I guess that's weird to say last month. But it basically
July
is talking
10th,
about
not even 30 days ago.
Basically, obviously, what we all know right now of how, you know, home prices and home selling is up. But what it dives into, this article dives into, is the amount of this activity is a lot of it's based on West Coast buyers. People are coming from the West Coast into the Atlanta area and Northwest Georgia specifically, and we're feeling it. And it's a different style of negotiating, a different style of business. It is a whole new ballgame for a lot of agents. It's no longer, you know, a relative from down the street buying your house and, you know, you're 5 minutes from grandma, which a lot of is Northwest Georgia. Everybody's, you know, very well connected and stays in the area. It's changing, and we can stay ahead of it. We can stay ahead of it.
So let's be realistic with what we're saying here. This is the Georgia MLS chart of housing units sold in Floyd County, right? So obviously July, don't pay attention because the article was written on July 10th, so it's not a full month. But you can see month over month from previous year. Now, it's worthy of mentioning the pandemic was kind of that March, April, May shock. So those numbers may be a little inflated. But if you just look in June, less houses sold than a year ago. Right? But really the story here is it's driving those prices up. 31% price appreciation. So Jeffrey, I'd go back to that conversation you and I had. Of course, it's a acute seller's market, which means it's a big win for a seller. But at the same time, if I bought a house a year ago, my wealth, my net worth, my equity increased 31% of the price of my home over a 12-month period. So if I had a $300,000 home, that means my net worth went up almost $100,000.
That's amazing.
In 12 months.
And that's the conversation to be having. We were talking about it. You're at the dinner party or you're at the neighborhood pool and people ask, hey, what's the market like? Well, here you go. This is exactly what it's like. People are building wealth all over the place.
So I think it's interesting. You brought up the point, and I'm looking for it in the article here, where it's saying the money's coming from the West Coast, right? Yep. And one of the cool parts about Keller Williams is we can see where those referrals are coming from inside of Command, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep, absolutely.
And they would be worthy of looking in your area around where the referrals are coming from, right?
Yeah, that's a great action item step we can take this week. I mean, that's something we can do tomorrow during our lead gen time is connecting referral business. It's a great, I mean, people look on a map and they think Northwest Georgia, they think space, land, they think, foothills of the mountains. And we need to be finding those agents, the referral agents that want to send their clients to us.
Right. So here, I'm going to pull it up real quick. And it's interesting because I just did a quick search inside of Command on Rome, Georgia, and there was one referral that came from Westlake, Ohio. If I do Cartersville, Georgia, where'd that referral come from? Woodstock, Atlanta, Conyers, Wisconsin, Indiana, right?
Wow.
So you're seeing that movement come from interesting parts of the country, and it just tells that part of the story.
It's interesting because we were talking about West Coast, and that's north. I mean, that's people just coming down.
And if I do Calhoun, let's see where they came from. They didn't have any referral patterns right now. But bottom line is you go into Command, you go into referrals, search for your area, and go to map and sort it by referral patterns.
That's fantastic.
And
those
referral patterns. So just simply, if we just did Atlanta, Georgia, right? Where does the money come from that comes into Atlanta, Georgia? You'll see some come from the Pacific Northwest. You see it from some of the major metropolitan areas, quite a bit coming from Texas, right? Moving to Atlanta, and some coming from Florida back to Atlanta. So, it's just, once again, it's being a professional and knowing your market, not just for a cocktail party trick, but certainly to be able to create that knowledge and skill set to be the fiduciary to your real estate clients, right?
Absolutely. No question about it. That's a great tool.
Yeah.
There's so much I pick up learning constantly as they're updating it. That's great.
Always. So here's the deal. Northwest Georgia update. Inventory should be picking up. The story is a little different than Metro Atlanta. It's important to know that. You should know the numbers of your local market. What would you take from this call that we want our agents prepared for, Jeffrey?
I think the doubling down on your marketing dollars. What can I be doing to increasingly tell my value story to clients?
Right.
That's my message. That's what I'm taking away from this, because that's how I'm going to stay ahead 6 months from now.
There you go, sir. Well, I appreciate you more than you know, Jeffrey. You're a resource. I encourage people to reach out to you.
Yeah, let me know anything you need.
If you're wanting to become better or more professional or learn the market, we're here to help. But at the end of the day, Jeffrey, thank you for wearing your cheap sunglasses, sir.
When you get up out
Can't
of
see without
bed,
it. See you
hit that
guys.
streets
Have a good one.
and try to meet the masses. Go get yourself some cheap sunglasses.